What's up, my friends? Today we're going to be talking about a very important subject, and that is self sabotage. So, as you probably heard me talk about before, our mindsets can make or break, who we are as a person, is what it comes down to. Is the thoughts that we're thinking when you hear me talk about the six foundation principles of moving, thinking, breathing, nutrition, hydration, and sleep. The thinking is kind of the chief in charge because we're not thinking good thoughts. We may not even take care of our health. We may not make the right choices to drink quality water, to move our body. The list goes on and on. So self sabotage is something that I brought on my good friend Catherine here today to share with us a little bit about because it's such a prevalent problem these days that we get in our own heads, we make up stories, we create threats that aren't even real, and ultimately we stop ourselves from really living our ultimate purpose and being the best version of ourselves. So, Catherine, I'm excited to have you share your perspective as someone who is incredibly knowledgeable and proficient in this area to just kind of share your perspective and what we can do to really stop getting in our own way.
hmm Rob, thank you for having me on. This is really exciting. So, self sabotage, a little bit of a background. You touched on that perfectly. It has a lot to do with mindset. But the part of our mind that we are kind of unfamiliar with that really self sabotages us is actually our subconscious mind. So, it's the thoughts that we aren't even really aware that we're having. And a lot of those thoughts come from our childhood programming, old stories that we've inherited from our parents, our siblings, our grandparents, all these people that came before us. And then we also have other programming that comes from mainstream culture, just the fact that we live in America. We have a lot of programs that come along with that. Um, so a lot of our self sabotage we don't even realize that we're doing. And that's the part that I really like to teach people about, empower them with that type of awareness, the subconscious awareness, so that they aren't getting in their own way of achieving, their health goals or their wealth goals, relationship goals, all those things. So the root of it is really feelings of unworthiness. And we don't really think that, we could maybe wake up in the morning like, yeah, I deserve everything that's coming to me. But if we have those old programs still running in the background, we might find ourselves going to the gym or like having a really great workout routine because we prioritize our health and prioritize having a strong body, but then leave the gym and go straight to a Cinnabon or a pint of Ben and Jerry's or something, and we we want to tell ourselves that that is us treating ourselves, but really it's us subconsciously being afraid of reaching our full health potential and just feeling the absolute best that we can feel. So that's kind of where that sneaky self sabotage comes in.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a really important point you said with the subconscious. That's really what a lot of it is. And I notice patterns in myself that when I'm reaching, a new high in my business, ultimately the next couple of weeks I find myself settling, I find myself going into bad habits. And then after a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, I'm like, hold on, I just stopped doing all the good things that got me to this place and I'm self-sabotaging to get myself back to where I'm comfortable because it's uncomfortable to grow. It's very uncomfortable to level up to the next level. So that's been a pattern I've been very increasingly aware of over the past year and a half, especially that's a very common, trick I play on myself is I reach a new high. That's like, oh, that's uncomfortable. Let's just subconsciously go back to where we were before. And I think we all do that to some degree.
100%. Everyone does it. It's almost like it's a natural protection mechanism where once you move out of your comfort zone to your next level of success, your subconscious mind, which some of it lives in your body, starts to kind of freak out like, oh, we've never been here before. Okay, we're kind of uncomfortable. How can we make ourselves comfortable again? By returning back to those old habits and those old, some of those old patterns, or even finding new bad habits to level that playing field, of our success. So, yeah, self sabotage is super sneaky. Everyone does it though, because guess what? Everyone has a subconscious mind. And the beautiful thing about learning how your subconscious mind works and operates is that, like, you already have an awareness that a lot of people don't even have, which I commend you on. Being able to have that awareness that you're already kind of, maybe sometimes doing little things that slide you back. A lot of people don't even ever realize that, and end up just, you know, continuing to move up uh, the success ladder, and then really sabotaging really hard and in detrimental ways to, to balance that playing field out. So once people understand that there's nothing wrong with them for doing that, number one, you're human. Welcome to the club. We all get to live in this world and learn this about ourselves. But once you understand that that's natural, then you can create an environment and give yourself the tools that you need to be comfortable in that new level of success, that new level of health. You It's like, you don't want to lose 30 pounds and then start smoking,
Right.
but a lot of, people do that because they are subconsciously uncomfortable with reaching their full potential. And
Mhm.
I love teaching people that there's nothing wrong with them for doing that, but that there's also tools that can help them not do that to themselves.
Absolutely. And I want to have you dive in before we get into the tools. How can people start with just gaining awareness? Because for me, I noticed my pattern of self-sabotaging my business by my Excel spreadsheet where I'm keeping track of my finances each month. And I noticed, there's
Mm,
this up and then I hit this new peak and then it goes down and then it comes up again and then it comes down. It's always after my new high that it's down, and not down to where the lowest it's ever been, but down to right about the average of the prior year or the prior X amount of months. And that to me, I'm a numbers guy. I'm kind of have that mathematical brain, so that to me was like, hold on, there's something going on here. But how can people start to gain that awareness? Because like you said, a lot of people don't even have the awareness, and awareness is the first step to change in anything. So how can people start to develop this level of awareness to recognize where they're subconsciously self-sabotaging?
Tracking, like you are doing, is a great way. So first, there's 4 areas that we focus in. Sorry, my cat is trying to get in the Zoom. There's 4 areas that we focus in, and it's health, wealth, relationships, or inner self-talk. So, like you were just sharing, it could be one goes up and you see another one um, start to suffer.
Mm,
And so having the awareness that there's 4 areas is number one,
I like that.
because you don't want to make progress in one area, like you don't want to get super healthy, but realize, okay, so you don't you're like, okay, I want to be healthy. I'm going to start buying my own groceries and, cooking for myself at home, and then realize that you're spending all the rest of your money on online shopping. So just having that awareness, tracking, looking at your finances, looking at what goals you're hitting, and maybe keeping track of the other the other 3 areas simultaneously. Like if you, kind of like we do, you have a 0 to 10 level on the goals that you're tracking, and how do you feel you're achieving in each of those goals. And as one goal increases, do you see your other areas kind of move down in how happy you are. So I think tracking, having awareness that there's 4 areas that kind of we're, trying to work on boosting them all up simultaneously without letting the other one suffer. And it's awareness, and it's also about having a commitment to yourself. And reminding yourself every day that you are worthy of all the success that is happening in your life. And that's just part of that reprogramming, letting go of some of those old stories that we're holding on to that aren't even ours,
Yeah, and that's a
you
big
know?
piece is that, a lot of these stories, like you said, they're not ours. A lot of times, like you said in the beginning, they're conditioning from, the news, from our parents, from our teachers, from basically any authority figure in our life that we have accepted their ways of being as our own. And sometimes
Mhm.
when, like you said, now that I have this level of awareness, there's times where a negative thought will run through my head or a self-sabotaging thought. And I'm like, where did that come from? Start questioning instead of saying, "Oh, you're right, thought. I am bad at X, Y, and Z." It's like, why is that there? Where did that come from? Whose thought is that? And then oftentimes, not all the time, but I can often trace back to, oh, that might have been something my former teacher said, or my dad said, or whoever said. And it's really
Mhm.
interesting when we start to, really pick apart and identify where these thoughts are coming from. That oftentimes, I'd say most of the time, they're not my own. They've been accepted by the
Mhm.
influence of other people. And
Yeah.
obviously, that's a big challenge is having that awareness and then taking the steps to change that.
Yeah. Well, I commend you because you're already there. You're already you brought that up before I even brought that up. So, you're working on it. That's great.
Awesome, man. I'd love to dive into now into how can we make changes? Because at the end of the day, it's great to have awareness. It's great to know that this is happening, but most of us want to change things for the better and take the actions necessary. So, what are some tools that you use with people you're working with to help them, turn the ship around to be less from self-sabotaging and more self-fulfilling for the goals and potential that they have inside them?
Okay. So, the first thing I always teach my clients is the power of affirmations. And now a lot of people use affirmations already, but through working with me, I really teach them why affirmations are so important and why they work. So I'll give you guys a little introduction to that. So we only have so much space for stories in our mind, right? And a lot of them are self-limiting beliefs, those negative stories from our childhood that we aren't worth it, that we don't deserve it. And affirmations are a really powerful way to introduce a new story. So it could even be a story that we don't believe about ourselves yet, but we know we want to. So my favorite one to always start with my clients is I love myself, because it's such a foundation for allowing yourself to achieve the things that your heart desires. So could call me a crazy person, but something that I ask them to do is every morning for 5 minutes to just sit with themselves and on repeat. I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. Now, you could use any affirmation. Um, Having a I present tense affirmation is the most powerful because that's the tense that our subconscious mind works in. Only cares about the present tense. Our subconscious doesn't care about the future or the past. It just cares about right now. And so having an affirmation, I'm worthy of success. I'm worthy of success. I'm worthy of success for 5 minutes every morning. Now, those old stories are still going to be there, but there's only so much space, right? So if the old stories used to occupy this big of space, now you've got these positive affirmations coming in and starting to occupy that space in your subconscious mind. And eventually, with enough repetition, you're going to fill up that whole space with this new story. But it takes commitment to yourself and loving patience and kindness as sometimes when I first started the I love myself affirmation, I used to say that and it was like my body was like, oh, like I don't like doesn't even feel good. Like it doesn't even feel right to me. I don't, but I just kept on it. And eventually it was like, 2, 3 weeks later, my actions started to reflect the thought that I loved myself. So this for me was, almost 2 years ago when I started on this. And it's just repetition, because you understand, you have the awareness that your subconscious mind only holds so much space. So every day your subconscious mind wakes up, it's new, it's saying, okay, what's going on around me? I've got all these old stories, but I'm looking around, like, what's the new input? What's the environment telling me today? Okay, today it's telling me I love myself or that I'm worthy of success. And so, okay, the subconscious mind kind of starts to move, starts to rearrange the furniture in there to reflect that. So, affirmations, because it's hard when you just tell someone, like, oh, yeah, just do the affirmations, like, the positive talk, it feels like kind of phony. But when you have the understanding that that's how the subconscious mind works, that it doesn't care whether it's true or not. If that's what it thinks the new signal is, that's the new story that we need to tell ourselves, then that's what it's going to, pick up and pull into.
Definitely. I think a big piece you touched on there is it's going to take time. It's not like it's going to be instantaneously. You say, oh, I have wealth and abundance. And then the next day, someone's going to be knocking on your door, delivering you, whatever your version of a lot of money is or abundance is. So these things take time because if
Yeah.
figure the way I like to look at it is, let's say it took you 18 years of creating this self-sabotaging mindset. If you really think in 18 minutes you're going to completely reverse that, it's a little naive to think that. So we need to have
Yeah.
patience with ourselves. And yeah, I think that a lot of these things, if you take 18 years to build a bad habit, it's not going to take you 18 years to undo that. Maybe to
Yeah.
get to the root of it, it's going to take some more time but to get some baseline change, maybe it'll take a few weeks, maybe it'll take a few months, maybe it'll take a few years. But at the end of the day, you think of, even if it takes a few years, if you're going to live to 100 years old and it takes you 3 years to completely change your mindset, so 3% of your life, it's not that bad. So the way I look at it is, with anything, any goal we're working towards, and I share this all the time, is we need to be patient, persistent, and consistent. And just like
Yes.
with these affirmations, if we're patient, persistent, and consistent, things are going to change. And for me,
Yes.
maybe it's having little things like journaling is another tool I like to use. And I'm going to get into some other tools that you utilize as well. But, journaling, affirmations, there we go. So, yeah. So, what are some other tools that people can utilize to help, change that subconscious mind?
Being aware of your environment, because your subconscious mind is looking around, it's scanning, it's taking in the information. So, learning how to create an environment that's conducive to the new thought habits that you want to have is super important. It's kind of hard to just like dip my toe into this and be able to give you like the full explanation of it, but being really mindful of the media that you consume. If you're consuming trash fire TV, that's what it is, then that's what you're putting into your mind. If you're always watching, uh, gosh, I used to have a roommate that would always watch these like crime shows about like serial killers.
Yep.
And he just was one of the most negative people I'd ever met in my life. And it's like, well, yeah, no kidding. Like what you focus on, you create. And so if you're always watching CSI and, things about serial killers, then your mind is going to think, wow, I live in this really terrible, dangerous world where, you should be afraid of other people and everyone's out to get you. Versus me, I am a audiobook queen. I listen to audiobooks every day because your subconscious mind doesn't know whether it's real life or you're listening to a recording, or it doesn't know whether it's real life or you're watching it on TV. And so you kind of have to become like the lifeguard of your environment. And you're like, okay, I'm looking around the pool. Is that thing over there? Is that helping me create the life that I want? Or is it actually pulling me back, to the life that I had or the old habits that I had? I had one of my best friends, she used to always watch reality TV and like the reality dating shows. And her relationships reflected, a lot of what she saw on those reality TV shows. And it wasn't until she kind of realized that and stopped watching them that she was able to engage in like a healthy, loving relationship with somebody. And it's like, you got to stop watching that, because then you're going to want to create that drama in the life you have, because it's what your subconscious mind is telling you. Okay, we live in a world that's filled with drama. People are just drinking a lot, they're always going out and partying, like that's what we need to be doing.
Right.
And if I'm listening to audiobooks about getting my money right, getting my mind right, getting my body right, guess what I'm going to feel safer doing? Getting my mind right, getting my money right, and getting my body right. So being really aware of your environment, your friend group.
Mm.
Who do you have that's supporting you in the goals that you want to achieve? Are you spending lots of time with those people? You know, do you have someone in your life that is achieving above the level that you're at, so
Mm.
that your subconscious mind can feel safe? Like, okay, there's actually someone in the world that's doing what I want to do, and they're still alive, they're thriving, they're actually looking pretty good from where I'm sitting. Okay, let me inundate my mind with that person so that I can feel safe, moving in that direction. Versus if all your friends, work for minimum wage jobs that they don't enjoy, no one's starting their own businesses, they're not eating healthy, they're all in, you know, stressful relationships, then your subconscious mind is like, okay, that's what everyone's doing. Maybe that's what I need to be doing too. I don't feel safe moving in the direction of my dreams or the direction of my goals.
100%. And what you said with the reality TV shows and a lot of these things is, like you said, understanding the subconscious mind is recognizing that we love emotional changes. We love to feel these surges of dopamine hits and highs and lows. We love the roller coaster ride, or we think we do. A lot of us think we enjoy that. We think we enjoy that until we're in the lows of the lows. We think we like when we're at the highs, but just like anything, it's the polarity of the two. So for me, I'd
Well, it's
rather
not that
have.
we don't think that we enjoy it. It's what feels safe,
Right.
because it's what we've always known.
Right.
And so you don't want to recreate. I mean, we naturally want to recreate what feels safe inside of us, but that's why it's really important to create that environment where the new feeling of safety comes from, this higher level of achievement or this higher level of success.
Definitely. And I like to think that, a lot of people are doing this big waves of ups and downs. So, we all, again, I like to have, highs. It's nice to have those high moments, but
Yeah.
I like to have a little bit smaller waves. My waves aren't quite as big as they used to be.
Well, when you have that awareness of the self-sabotage that you're doing, instead of going like this and going back down, like that's the self-sabotage. You want to be able to go up, plateau,
Right.
okay, be comfortable, you're chilling, you're getting comfortable at this level, your subconscious mind is even getting comfortable at this level that you're achieving, and then you're able to push yourself up again just
Love
a
that.
little bit and then plateau.
Love that.
Yeah.
Definitely. And that's like, I like that a lot. Even just my subconscious description of that right there is a good recognition point that, even me describing it that way is room for improvement. So I appreciate you shedding that light there. So
Yeah, you got
Catherine, I think we could go on for probably 6 more hours on this topic, but
it.
without throwing too much at people. We talked about affirmations, we talked about the subconscious mind, we talked about people we're hanging out with, the media we're exposing ourselves to, and I'm sure you have a lot more tips and tricks. So where can people learn more about working with you, follow along with what you're doing, and just, stay in touch with you?
Thank you, Rob. So they can find me on Facebook or Instagram, Catherine Gabitan, Catherine with a C, Catherine, and then Gabitan, Gabitan. I'm sure you'll put it in the show notes, maybe. We'll link it somewhere. And then I am having a group workshop 2 day. It's a two-part group workshop on June 22nd and June 29th. And the first day is about building that awareness, teaching people the understanding, what's the purpose of our subconscious mind, what does it do for us in our lives. And then the second day is actionable solutions. And I'll introduce people that attend the workshop also to RTT, which we um, didn't get to touch on here, but it's another one of the tools where, like, I wanted to mention it earlier, where you were saying that, like, it takes 18 years to build these habits, and so it's going to take a while. RTT is a really good tool. It's called Rapid Transformational Therapy. It's a type of hypnosis,
Cool.
not the type that makes you feel like you're like a chicken and you're
Mm.
out of your body and can't remember what happened, but it's more like a really deep meditation
Right.
that's super potent and really powerful. I'll actually share one of those with you
Cool.
after this call.
Awesome.
And so it's a 2-day workshop. I'd love it if your audience attended. I'll give you a discount link so that your audience can access it for $77. I'd love to see our community have this information and use it to thrive in all the ways. And I also take one-on-one clients. They can have access to that through my website. It's called facilitatingyourfreedom.com. And I do one-on-one clients. There's a lot more kind of childhood healing that happens, I feel like, with my one-on-one clients, but the workshop is going to be super powerful and a lot more accessible for a lot more people.
Awesome. Well, everybody listening, again, I'm going to put some of those links in the description here if you didn't catch Catherine saying those. So check those out in the description. Follow along with what Catherine's doing. She's got a lot more great tips to share. So, Catherine, thank you for being here today and sharing your light. And everybody, go check out Catherine's stuff.
My pleasure, Rob. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.